So why does that happen? That is happening because we have limit orders and we have market orders. Limit orders are orders which are put in the system and people have just selected the level they want to enter and they put their order there and they sit back. Market orders are orders which are being executed in live market because something is changed in the market. So everyone wants to get into the market as early as possible. So they are trying to get into the market at whatever price they can get into. So those are the market orders. Obviously, when you have lot of market orders happening, the auction would move faster and the volumes also would be on the higher side. So why does that happen? That is happening because we have limit orders and we have market orders. Limit orders are orders which are put in the system and people have just selected the level they want to enter and they put their order there and they sit back. Market orders are orders which are being executed in live market because something is changed in the market. So everyone wants to get into the market as early as possible. So they are trying to get into the market at whatever price they can get into. So those are the market orders. Obviously, when you have lot of market orders happening, the auction would move faster and the volumes also would be on the higher side.
The market order helps move price faster. Now, why do I say that? Okay, because the market order adds momentum to the existing demand and supply already there. It helps move price further up away. And generally speaking, okay, when we talk in terms of market orders, we get to know, okay, that these traders who put markets are generally, and I'm saying generally speaking over here, are generally the kind of people who know what they are doing. They are not, okay, people randomly trading, and they are armed with a certain set of information which tells them that, okay, I want to get into this market now and I want to get into this market quickly. And because of that, okay, we say that price moves faster when there is a market order. Now, in an order flow chart, you really do not need to get into the details of why it is a limit order or why it is a market order.
Good evening, guys. Good evening, everyone. A quick sound check. Great. So let's start with the monthly profile of Nifty Spot and Bank Nifty Spot, and then we will come to the weekly report which was published on the website, and then we will talk about what has happened today and what we can expect in the rest of the week. So what we have on the left is the Nifty Spot monthly chart. So we can see how we have formed a nice balanced profile for the month of July. So we can split this profile into daily charts. So we know in Nifty what we have done is we have remained above previous month's value, and also the range we have extended it onto the upside. and the attempt to probe back into previous month's range was met with rejection, as we can see at this pullback low in the HTPO, which was the 10th of July. So here we have a small buy tail in Nifty spot, and we are forming a balanced profile. The value is higher, and the POC of this month is at 24281. So this will be the midpoint of the current month. And on the upside, what we did on Friday was we made a probe higher, we made new highs, and this JTPO is of Friday's profile. So what we have done is we have formed, we had left a tail at the top and we have a tail at the bottom with a nice balanced profile in the middle. So the monthly profile as of now is a nice balance with range extension to the upside. So we are bullish in Nifty spot and we can expect more upside provided we make higher highs after this JTPO. So if we just include today's auction in this, what we have done is this extension handle which was left on Friday at 24461, that was mentioned in the weekly report also. I'll come to that in a bit. So that has been defended. So as long as this 24461 is defended, we can look for this imbalance continue to the upside. So we will have to see how this goes, and 24461 will be one reference for spot for the rest of this month. If we are holding that, we can expect that buyer who has entered at that level will force more range extensions to the upside. So coming to the Bank Nifty spot, again, if we split this chart into daily profiles, we had spoken about how this 51957 extension handle from last month would be an important support for this month. I'll split this because we had this 51957 and this zone of 52224 where we had a zone of singles. So what the market did in the first attempt was it took support just above that, and then on 11th of July it broke below but has left a responsive buying tail. So it has kind of validated this buying extension handle from the month of June. So now what we have is a responsive buying tail in Bank Nifty. We had spoken about this even when we did the monthly review when this month started, that how every month we have been probing lower in Bank Nifty, leaving a responsive buying tail, and then we go on to probe higher again. So this month's responsive buying tail is in place. After this, on Friday, what we did was we probed higher, but then we were not able to take off this lows of the DTPO. DTPO is the 4th of July where we made those all-time highs, and we were stalling right at the lows of that TPO that day. So this day could be called as a scene of crime for the month of July, because from this day, the upside which was there in July month, the month started with a trending move higher, which stopped and we went on to probe lower. So this is how Bank Nifty is placed. Even the Bank Nifty profile chart is a nice balanced profile on the monthly time frame with the POC at 52555, which is the midpoint. So if we include, even in Bank Nifty, we have small responsive tails at both sides. Nifty is more bullish because we have an initiative buying tail at the lows, and we have continued to make higher highs. But Bank Nifty, the high was made on 4th of July, after which we have started to form a balance, especially after making these new lows for the month. So considering what we did today, again, we have remained in this monthly value and continued to form this balance. Whereas in Nifty, we stayed above that extension handle and formed higher value. So it was a bullish case in case of Nifty on the monthly time frame also. But in Bank Nifty, we have continued to remain in this monthly value which is being formed. So we will need to get some clues that Bank Nifty is also looking to move away from the current monthly balance. So let us see how that plays out in the coming sessions. And coming to the weekly report. So in the weekly report, the first thing what we do is we see what has happened last week. We have a small write-up about what the previous report said, and then we have the daily profile chart, the split unmerged weekly chart, where you can see the daily profile and see what has happened on the daily time frame, where we started on Monday with a narrow range neutral day, and a prominent POC at 24,300. And then we made an attempt to move higher but got rejected. We made a B-shaped profile. We took support at this lower HVN, which was mentioned here in the previous week's report. 24137 was that HVN, and the higher HVNs were 24351 and 24271. So the attempt to move above the higher HVN failed. So we went on to take support near the lower HVN. From there, Nifty has been uh, going higher. We made these double distribution trend day up on Friday, and on the weekly time frame, if you have a look at the weekly chart, it's a nice neutral extreme, nice balanced one, but the it is also a neutral extreme one to the upside, because it made a range extension lower. It took support, and then last day of the week it left a extension handle on the upside at 24461, and then made new all-time highs. So this is what the weekly profile says. It is a neutral extreme one to the upside with a small responsive buying tail from 24173 and has formed overlapping to higher value. The value is been given and the POC is at 24296, which is a nice balance, and has given a move away from this zone on the last day with an extension handle at 24461, which will be the level to hold if Nifty has to continue higher towards 24751 in the coming week. So what we have done today, we will come to that. So this is the weekly profile chart, which is a nice balance, and this is the extension handle of 24461, which was our reference for today's open. So if I open up the weekly profile chart, and what I'll do is I'll have the daily chart on the left side so that we can have the weekly and daily both together. And so I'll just get the Nifty spot daily chart. Any issue with the audio, guys? So we have the weekly reference. On the weekly reference, we had this 24461 as our first support, and now we have the daily profile on the left side. So on the daily profile, what would have been our reference on the downside? Our reference on the downside would have been the POC from Friday, which was at 24,500, and this was also given in the hypos which we have for today. So the first reference on the downside for today was 24,500. So as long as we were above 24,500, we were not looking for to take any shots in Nifty spot, and about 24525 we were looking for more upside in Nifty, and these were the probable levels which we were looking at. So at the open, when we opened above that POC of Friday, it was a bullish sign because Nifty was accepting this upside double distribution and remaining in this balance. So although the range extension to the upside today was on the slower side, we did not have any big range extensions, but the PLR, the path of least resistance, was to the upside because of the open end sustaining in this upper distribution of Friday's profile. So now what we have done is we have found overlapping to higher value, and we have stayed above this POC of 24,500. So we will have to take today's POC, which is at 24,585, which is where we have closed. Today's profile also looks like a nice balanced profile with a close right in the middle, which is also the POC. So 24,585 would be our reference for tomorrow, and staying above that level, we can expect the Nifty to continue higher. Whereas on the downside, we had left a pullback low in the F TPO today, which was almost same as the C period lows. So this pullback low is around the 24544 mark. So this would be our first support, and the second level to watch would be 24,500. So the downside levels for this coming week, starting from tomorrow, would be the first reference would be 24544, then 24500, the VPOC of Friday, and then the extension handle of 24461. Whereas on the upside, if we stay above this 24585 level, we can expect more upside, and our main objective for this week is the 24750 level. So we will update these hypos in that weekly report end of day today. So you can be ready with the new levels which I am speaking about for tomorrow's session. So this is how we are placed in the Nifty spot weekly wise. We are well above previous week's value, and we are looking good for more upside. Only when we start forming value sideways or lower on a daily time frame, we will look for the trend to have uh, stopped or reversed. And if it is reversed, we will have to start forming lower value on the daily time frame on a daily basis, and we will look for the lower VPOCs to be tagged, where 24500, then this extension handle, and this composite POC, which is also the monthly POC of July, developing monthly POC of July. So these will be our references. So this is as far as this spot is concerned in Nifty. Let us have a look at what is the scene in Bank Nifty. This is, so Bank Nifty spot, if we see the previous week's daily profiles, you can see how it was more a probe lower, because starting from Monday we could not make higher highs. We made an inside bar on Tuesday. It was a 2-day balance which we formed, and then we left an initiative selling tail on Wednesday, probe lower, and then again continued that probe to the downside on 11th of July, which we saw also on the monthly chart, and tested this extension handle. This 51784 was an extension handle on the weekly chart. This apart from what monthly reference we had of 51957. So when we tested this weekly extension handle of 51784, we could not get more downside. So that was telling us that the shorts are booking out at this level. And even if we see the daily profile, we saw the POC shifting to the lower part. And then we had a good bounce on that day, on the 11th of July. So this was very clearly telling that one buy side reference was seeing the demand coming back, and the shorts booked out and led to this bounce into the close. So after this, we went on to probe higher, and this was also the day where we tested and closed above that 51957 level of the monthly reference, and that was telling us that maybe the downside is done and Bank Nifty can continue probing higher. So we have the small write up of what happened last week. It opened with a 2-day balance, and then we made an attempt to probe lower, but the last day on Friday, when we got about this new highs of the week, we got rejected and we left a responsive selling tail. So that was indicating that the supply is still active in this zone. So if you see the weekly profile, we have a neutral profile on the Bank Nifty weekly time frame with a very prominent POC at 52,555, which is also the monthly POC. So now going forward for this week, we would have been bullish only if we remained above this POC. Else, if we see the higher time frame, we are forming overlapping value. So the weekly profile is a neutral one with overlapping to lower value. 52550 is that POC. It will remain weak if it stays below 52192. So we will come to what happened today and accordingly take views on this week as well as the rest of the month. And if we stay below this 52192, the targets would have been the lower daily VPOCs of 51923, which was the POC from 11th of July. And below that, we have this 51655 reference. So we have that main reference of 51136, which is now the swing support in Bank Nifty spot, which was a monthly rollover point, and once that was taken out, it formed volume a base there. So that will be our swing support for the month of July and even further. Whereas on the upside, 52350 we have to sustain, above which we have the VPOCs of 52554 and 52961, which would be the first objectives. So let us see what we have done in Bank Nifty today. We have this weekly profile chart, and I'll have a dual chart mode so that we have the daily on one side and we can see what we have done, what was mentioned in the report. So if we see the weekly chart, we can see that we have continued to remain in the weekly balance, and what we have done, today's profile is kind of filled up this lower part of previous week's profile, so which looked as if it needed some filling, which is done. And we went on to tag the first objective we had on the upside of this VPOC of 52550. And now going forward, we need to take out this selling tail of previous week, which is at 52704, and we can look for the higher POC of 52961 and this weekly VPOC which we have at 55300. So we have the daily profile chart of Bank Nifty. So we can see from 11th we made a probe higher. We made the 80% rule in this composite, but we left this responsive selling tail. So what we did today was we made a look down below these lows of Friday, but we got rejected. The FTPO, in fact, made a lower low and then made a high. So we have a failed auction in Bank Nifty spot. And this failed auction would be an important reference going forward, because this is giving us a very good reversal or a swing reference. So as long as this failed auction is holding, we need to look for upside. And what we have done today after this tagging of this POC is formed a 2-day balance. So we can merge these 2 days and apart from the failed auction at close today. So this 52550 remains one reference on the downside in spot. And on the upside, we will have to get above this selling tail and look for a probe higher to 52961 and then 53100, which is the weekly VPOC. So now that is how we are placed in Bank Nifty. We have the weekly settlement tomorrow, so it looks like an interesting one. So if we are able to continue higher and defend that failed auction, we are definitely looking good for this 52961 tomorrow. On the downside, if we are not able to get above this 52550 at open tomorrow, then we can look for continuing to fill up this balance with the FA of today, the lows of today, as the swing reference. And once we break that, we can look to go short in Bank Nifty. So that is as far as the spot is concerned. Before switching to the futures chart, I would want to take a pause in case there are any queries so that we can answer them before we move forward. So if there are any queries regarding what we have covered in the spot Nifty or Bank Nifty, please feel free to ask before we shift to the future chart and have a look at couple of examples of options today. Nagraj has a question: when we should see spot and continuous in market profile. We use spot charts for higher time frame references, and end of the day, we just have a look at what is happening, especially when the new week is started. We would want to see how spot is started with respect to the previous week's profile. So, which is what happened today. We have a FA in spot in Bank Nifty, but we don't have an FA in futures. So that is why it is important to have a look at what is happening at spot also, and make note of key references in spot. And because of the weekly settlements we have, it always pays to have those spot levels also ready. And we see continuous futures all the time in future Bank Nifty futures and Nifty futures, and we only shift to a series wise futures when a new expiry is started. That is because of the difference of premium. We have different levels which are marked out. So when a new expiry is starting, the first 5 to 6 sessions, we have the profile chart, that particular series chart. Otherwise, the continuous profile chart is what we always look, and futures is where the volumes come. So we always are, all the trades which we do in the trading room are based on the signals which we get in futures. So which is why we have this report, the daily report which goes out, which is on screen now. So this report is based totally on futures, and this is done on daily basis. And here we have all the references based on volumes. So volumes is what precede price. So here we can see for Nifty futures, we had these references for today. And like in spot, we saw we opened above the POC of previous day. Even in Nifty futures, we opened above the POC of Friday. And that is the reason we continued on the upside. So this is the daily report, which is again published. This is on a daily basis. We have the daily charts, the futures chart, along with the important business areas, both on the upside and the downside. So in case there are no other queries, I will go to the Nifty profile chart. And have a look at today's order flow also alongside, before we discuss what kind of a open we had in Nifty and Bank Nifty, and also why Bank Nifty was a more better instrument to trade today. So we have the Nifty profile daily chart on the left, and we have the order flow chart. I have switched to the 15-minute order flow chart just to discuss about how the open was today, and what kind of setup we had at the open. So when we are using market profile and order flow, we want to see what kind of a open we get in the market profile. So the open we got today in Nifty was an open auction in range, because we remained in the previous range and value. But it was bullish because we had opened above previous day's POC, but we remained in previous value. Hence, there was no trade which we got in the first hour and half in Nifty futures. It was only in that after the C side, where we got this IB and a range extension, which signaled that the auction wants to probe higher, but still the volumes were on the lower side, which we can see in the speedometer. So the speedometer is lying at 54, which means we were half of what the average volumes was. So that is why it did not make sense to be any take any aggressive trades in Nifty, and also not at least short calls, because the PLR was on the upside. So going forward, what we have done today is we have formed a P-shape kind of a profile in Nifty with the POC at 24,621. So again, for tomorrow's open, this would be our reference, and we would need to get some good initiative volumes, because the first 15-minute volumes was only 16,000 contracts, which is well below the average. The average contracts in the first 15 minutes are at least 25,000 to 30,000 in Nifty futures. So in case we are getting more than that and moving away from previous value, that would be an indication that a initiative player is getting into the market and moving it, and we would want to get aligned with that person or that institution. So this is as far as the Nifty futures is concerned, and volumes were had been low throughout. So we never got any huge big volume bar today, which is why even the range extensions was met with responsive selling, and we remained in a very narrow range. The entire day's range was just 97 points in futures, so which is just what the IB range normally is in Nifty futures. So that is telling us that the auction is kind of coiling and waiting for some volumes to come in. So in case we get that confirmation of volumes adding up tomorrow or in the session on Thursday, which will be the weekly settlement for Nifty, we can expect a good move and a range expansion in this. So this is as far as the Nifty futures is concerned. A quick look at the Bank Nifty profile chart along with the order flow, and the reason why Bank Nifty was giving us good, more better opportunities to trade today, because Nifty did not even test any of the previous day's references. We remained above the POC of Friday, but we never gave a test of that or never got a test of that. Whereas in Bank Nifty, we have the Bank Nifty profile chart on the left, chart activated, and we can see how the Bank Nifty also gave us a open auction in range, and the volumes in Bank Nifty also was below average. So at the open we did not have any aggressive trade opportunity in both. I'll again switch this to the 15 minutes so that we can have a quicker view. But what Bank Nifty did at the open was, if I split this chart of Friday, we have this reference of 52364, and the same reference was also given in today's business areas in the daily report. So the first reference on the downside in Bank Nifty futures was 52364, and the upside reference was 52405. So when we opened in the morning, it was an open auction in range with no clear edge. But what happened later was we tested that reference of 52364, and we saw a big buyer coming. So it was a 501 buyer, but it was not just the number which was important, but along with the buyer, we could see we had zeros on the sell side. So order flow was telling us that the selling is drying up in this zone, at least for that time, and then this buyer wants to take it higher. So what we did was we went on to probe higher and made this new highs in the A period, but we stalled right at previous day's VWAP. So you can see this 52522, which was previous day's VWAP, and this HVN, the brown band which is there on the profile chart, indicates a high volume node. So we had an HVN at 52557 and another HVN at 52704. So this is where we had sell side references for today, and they were also mentioned in our daily report. So you can see on the upside we had the first HVN mentioned and the second HVN also mentioned. So when we look, when we open the day, we look at these business areas and see what the order flow is showing us. So when we got a buy side reference at this order flow, we knew that the PLR has changed to the upside. I will later come to the call and put chart of Bank Nifty of today, and we will see how we got some good setups in that today. We also had a question about the 1156 bar, I think, in Bank Nifty. So we will cover that also as we are looking at the order flow here. So what Bank Nifty did was we tested here, got some buying, and we went on to test previous day's VWAP. But at this VWAP, we were not getting any buying. So then again, the Bank Nifty again went lower. Volumes on the in the Bank Nifty also was on the lower side itself today. So it was very obvious that it is more the locals who are playing out, and the big players are only defending their zones. So whenever it was going to a zone where a big player wanted to, a big buyer wanted to defend, that was getting defended on the lower side, whereas on the upper side the sellers were coming back to defend their zone. So the first zone which was defended today was the VWAP, where we can see we have zeros on the buy side at the top, both 15-minute bar. So there in the B period, we went on to make new lows. We made a look down below previous day's lows, and we had this reference in the business area of 52254, below that 52364 reference. And this was a reference from the profile chart of 11th of July, where we had made a move higher. We have that on screen, so I'll just quickly show that. You can see how the JTPO on 11th of July gave that big move. So that is the reason the J period VWAP of 52254 and this halfback of 52219 were important references. They were buy side levels which we were looking at. And in the order flow, we were looking to get see buyers defending that zone. So today when we probe lower, you can see how those new lows was getting greens. This could be shorts who are covering, or this could be buyers who are coming back. Whatever the case is, but we were very clearly getting demand at the lows. We were not getting any new B period. You can see when we made these new lows, we have got zeros on the sell side, and we have got a very good RB bar. After we got this, we went on to get above VWAP. So here Bank Nifty, first it tested this MTPO reference. We made a move higher to VWAP. Then at VWAP it got rejected. We went on to make new lows. It got a good RB. We again made new highs in the C and D. But what happened in the C and D is we got stalled right at this HVN of 52557. So when a selling reference is not giving a gate pass, as we say in the room, that means the buyers are not strong enough at that zone, at least at that point of time. So the auction does want to search new buying coming in who can then take out that level. So it tested this zone. It again made a dip low, but it took support right at the morning B period tail, buying tail. So after which you can see in the order flow, we made these new highs, but we were stalling right at that HVN of 52557. So after which we made that break below VWAP. So on the higher time frame, we have seen that we are forming a balance. So that is the reason we should not be surprised by these by these swipes which we are getting intraday, especially when the open type is an open auction in range and the volumes are on the lower side. So because this is a very classic environment for the bigger players to just enter in their zone and swipe through the low volume period. So what we saw in that 1145 bar today was a swipe lower because there was hardly any volumes which was there. There was no liquidity, and you can see the number of zeros which have come in this bar. Zeros on both sides. So that is only telling us that there was absolutely no volume which was coming in today, which is why this swipe got triggered. And in that swipe, what happened was when we made those new lows in not the new lows, but that lower low in F, we saw this 854 buyer coming in at the morning B period tail level. So this was also the POC in the morning. So when the POC is being defended in Nifty, on the profile chart you can see the HVN at 52315, which was originally the POC of today, which shifted higher in when we closed. So this was mostly profit booking by the longs who had come in the dip in the morning. So this explained when we were getting RBs at this zone that the buyers were defending this zone. So once we got back above VWAP in Bank Nifty, it was always going to be possible that the higher HVNs of 52557 and 52704 will get tested. And that was also there in the report today. The next reference above 52557 was 52704. So when we got above VWAP with this green bar at 1 o'clock, it was very clear that the bank Nifty is headed higher, and we went on to tag that 52704. But what happened there was in the order flow, it is very clearly telling us we are only getting RS bars and the buy side is showing us zeros. So this is very clearly telling us this zone now is still not been able to be taken out by the buyers. So just like what we did in the first attempt when we hit 52557 in the morning today, the same thing is happening with 52704 now. So because of this, we remained in a narrow range, but we stayed above VWAP, and this POC reference of 52596, which will be the immediate support for tomorrow apart from today's VWAP. So on the daily time frame, like in spot, we saw we have formed a 2-day balance. So we can merge these 2 days into a value which will be the reference for us for tomorrow's expiry. So the 2-day composite value area low is 52392 and the POC is at 52630 and the value area high is 52698. So we have this responsive selling tail which we need to take out or at least get accepted into. So if tomorrow in the morning we are accepted in this zone in the initial balance, the first hour, we can look for upside range extensions towards this VWAP from the 4th of July and this POC from the same day, which was where we hit the all-time highs. So this is how we are placed in Bank Nifty futures, whereas on the downside, if we stay below this 52513, the composite VWAP and today's VWAP level, we can look for a test of today's lows and the test of the buyers who had come in today at 52315. So I would just quickly shift to the option charts and show you a couple of examples from today's trade setup. We have already seen the Bank Nifty. We have already seen the Bank Nifty futures in the order flow, and now we would have a look at one call and one put of the day where we could have taken trades as per the line chart and the order flow of that particular option. We have been taking these sessions on line charts and we have been telling you how the POCs on line chart gives important references. So whenever we are getting a move in any option, the prior POCs of those that option can be taken as objectives. So this is the 52,000 call option chart, the line chart on the left, and you can see the POC from Friday was at 700 level. So this 700 was the POC from before, and today's POC at the open was at 533. So I have the opening. We have this is the 3-minute order flow chart. I'll just quickly run through this so we can see how at the open the POC shifted to the top, which is at 529, and from there we made a dip lower. So this dip which we saw in the A period coincided, this RB bar of 939 coincided with the 500 lot buyer we saw in Bank Nifty futures coming at that first reference, first business area we had on the downside. So from here, sorry, actually that was not the RB. Yeah, this is the B period part. So the shifting of POC higher, the RB which we saw in the Bank Nifty futures was around this point 921, after which we made this swipe higher above VWAP and made these new highs in the call option, but the POC shifted higher. So shifting of POC means profit booking, and if we are not able to sustain above the POC, then that means the upside of this instrument is done. So after which we probe lower, and when we even got an IS in this call, and this is the lows we made when we hit those new lows in the B period in Bank Nifty. So what happened then, you can see in 957, the POC shifted lower in this call option to 391. So when the POC shifted lower, it was telling us that whatever selling or whatever profit booking had come in the first round is now done. And when we saw those big RB bars in the Bank Nifty futures, this call option was again a candidate to go long. So the POC was here and we needed to wait for a move above VWAP. So either we take a trade when this IB came at VWAP, or we take a trade when this IS got negated. Either case, when we got this IB, it was very clear that the call is now looking good for upside. So what would have been our reference? Our reference would have been the POC before the IB bar, which was this 370. And although we were not able to get higher highs above this VWAP, and we made a dip and we even got an IS, you can see how the cut of this bar, which was at 8,000 contracts, was clearly telling us that there is still upside left in this call, because this IS bar had only a cut of minus 2000. So, and we were not able to break below this lows of IB. So this still was our reference. And as long as that was holding, we could have expected this to get back again on the upside. So once it got back above VWAP again, did it with an IB. Was this POC of the morning, which was at 530, and then this POC from Friday, which was at 700. And you can see how very easily we went on to take off that 530 level in one single 3-minute bar. And then we made a small uh, coiling, after which we got those RS bars, because in the C and D period we could not take out that HVN of 557 in Bank Nifty futures, because this is a 52,000 call. You can see so clearly right at the same level of 558 we are getting RS bars. So when order flow is showing you RS, it is very clearly asking you to book profits in that instrument and trail to cost, or book out, come out completely and wait for a new signal. So after this call took support just above VWAP when it made that low in the F period. But it was still not able to take off the upper RS level. So we were still not getting an IB which was confirming as a new fresh entry into this. And then we had that big swipe in the F period, that 1145 swipe. And you can see how in this call we made new lows, but the nice RB bar. So here, once we made these new lows and immediately got back above VWAP, we were looking for that upside objective of 700 to be tagged, because even in futures we were looking at 52704, and even in the option in this call we had that POC at 700. So but when we would we enter, we would need one good IB bar or a good green bar at the VWAP. So here this bounce did not give us any IB bar. We did get above IB, but we got an RS, then got an IS. And then again we got an IS. We were at IB, at VWAP, we were not getting an IB bar, initiative buying bar. So we were waiting for the buyers to show up, and this first green bar which is closed above VWAP. And after this close, this was the second bar. So this was very clearly giving us the signal that now buyers have entered and we can look for that higher target. So here, if you are entering a long trade, our reference would be the bar which is just close above the POC, the low of that. So 451 was the low of this bar. So this would have been our reference on the downside for a long trade in this option. And as we were expecting that 700, you can see how, like we did it in the morning, it just swiped through higher and went on to hit 680 in the first attempt, made a dip, but it was still holding on to the IB bar POC, which is at 555. So as long as that 555 was holding, that 700 test was on, and we went on to hit that 720 in the 145 bar, which was the J period. We don't consider the J period trustworthy, just like how we treat the C period. So we always are circumspect when there is some move happening in the J. We want the next K period to confirm it, which did not happen today. And you can see see how we have zeros in this bar on the upside with the POC shifting to the top, which was very clearly telling us that the moderate zone has been tagged, but it has not been sustained. So after this, the call gave back a retracement lower to 588, and you can see all the time that 590 level, which was previous day's VWAP. In this chart, if you see, you can see the previous day's VWAP closed at 590. So that reference was holding throughout on the downside, whereas on the upside, that RS of 690 was not able to be taken out. So going forward today, although at the close we did make a dip below that 590 level, it immediately closed with an IB bar in the closing 3 minutes. So on the downside, we have the 554 as the reference in this call for tomorrow's expiry. And on the upside, the immediate reference is the 648, then higher will be 690. So POC of this option is still lower, and we have seen lot of open interest being taken out today because the writers were taken to the cleaners today in this option. So we will need to figure out, it is closed above VWAP, so it is still a buy long side candidate. So we will need to see how we open tomorrow, and these references would be what we will be looking at. This is still deep in the money now, so we can look for a higher strike price of 50 to 300 maybe, and accordingly take out the references for tomorrow's auction. So before I close up, one last look at the 52,700 put, and how when we get a buy side signal in a call, how the same is reflected with the sell side in the put. So here we can see when the Nifty Bank Nifty was about to fall, we got the POC in this put shift lower, and when the move came higher, we went on to make these new highs. I would want to show you the 1154 bar of this put where we made that swipe and we got a big IB. So why it is important here is, if you are an option seller, how you can use that information and that chart and the levels. So this is what happened in that swipe. This put was around 360, from where it went on to make a high of 568. So what happened here, after the immediately after the IB, we got an RS bar, and we remained in this range for the next good time. So our reference in this put option was the level which would have negated this IB. The IB being negated means the POC before the IB bar, which was at 361. So this was the reference. So as long as the put remained above this 361, the Bank Nifty could not have been bullish. So, and because we had this RS bar and we were just making a balance around the VWAP and the POC in this put, it was very clear that market has taken a pause. It is not that sellers have made use of that swipe lower in the F period. So it was just biding time and forming a balance. And here this bar at 115, which broke below the 361 level, was a classic case of taking a short position in this put. So you can see here in the line chart which is there, how right at from that time the open interest also started to rise in this 52,700 put. So this is how you can make use of both sides. If you are an option seller, you can make use of going for even out of money options to get the risk more better managed. And you can see how once it broke, the reference on the upside would have been the VWAP, because if you're an option seller, you would not want the option to get back above VWAP. And on the downside, you can see how quickly it went on to make a 100-point move from 360. It went on to make a low of 260, and the bounce, whatever bounce it gave, held this IS bar. The IS bar was at 311. So this 315 would have been our reference for the rest of the day to remain short in this put. And that 315 never got tagged. Even in the closing minutes, we could see how order flow helps us in this in both sides as an option buyer as well as an option seller. It is only that we need to make proper use of it and use it to monetize our trades. So that is it for today, guys. Hope it was a good learning session for you guys. Any queries on today's session, you can please feel free to ask them. So Prem Kumar had a question about the terms. We do have basic write up on what is the market profile, and you have lot of material available on the forum. So would help if you can go through them to get familiar with the terms which we use, because we 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 have a process where we use market profile and order flow as our tools, and we need to have an edge in today's market. If you want to be successful in trading, we need to have an edge. It is not an easy game. So the edge for us today is market profile and order flow, and which is what we keep explaining in our sessions and intend to do so. So any more queries, guys? So thank you all for joining in. So that is it for today, and let us see how this week goes. We have a holiday on Wednesday, and we will definitely update the reports both of futures as well as spot for tomorrow's session, and then what comes up on Thursday. So let us see, and if we can have a good weekly settlement of Bank Nifty tomorrow, and then followed by the Nifty on Thursday, before we have that all important event of the budget coming up in the next week. So thank you all for joining in, signing off, and let us join up for the next session.